This unsettling scenario lies at the heart of one of the most disturbing urban legends, the mysterious case of the body under the bed. It's the kind of story that feels like it belongs in a horror movie or a nightmarish dream. But here's the chilling part. It's real. Unfortunately, there have been multiple reported cases where a dead body was mysteriously discovered under a bed in a hotel room. In one infamous incident, a couple checked into a hotel, only to complain to the front desk about a foul odor in their room. The cleaning staff investigated but couldn't identify the source of the smell. They reported it to the manager, who sent maintenance workers to check if the air conditioning was malfunctioning or if a rodent had died within the walls. After a thorough search, they found nothing amiss, until one worker decided to check under the bed. To their horror, they discovered a rotting corpse hidden just inches below where the couple had slept. This isn't an isolated incident. Similar cases have been reported around the world. In 2003, a guest in a Las Vegas hotel complained of a terrible smell coming from their room. Upon investigation, a woman's decomposing body was found stuffed inside the bed frame. In 2010, in Memphis, Tennessee, a couple unknowingly spent several nights sleeping above a corpse. The smell of decay had been partially masked by fabric softener sheets stuffed into ceiling tiles, but it grew stronger each day, especially when someone sat on the bed. Eventually, a young woman's body was discovered hidden under the king-size mattress and box spring. The room had been rented out to 3 different guests, each reporting the foul odor, but hotel staff dismissed their concerns. What makes this story so terrifying is that it could happen to anyone. Hotels are supposed to be safe havens where travelers can rest without worry, but the idea of unwittingly sharing a room with a corpse is the stuff of nightmares, turning what should be a routine stay into a horrifying experience. This urban legend will make you question what lurks in your childhood toys. Once during a trip to Sapporo, the little boy Aikichi Suzuki from the small town Hokkaido was in awe by a doll that caught his eye. It was unlike any ordinary doll, but a doll dressed in a kimono, black glossy hair and eyes which gleamed. Fascinated by the beauty of the doll, Aikichi realized that it was going to be the perfect gift for his little sister Okiku. Happy, Okiku completely got obsessed with the new doll and never let it out of her sight again. It became Okiku's companion that accompanied her during her days and nights and always accompanied her. But that's where fate played its cruel trick. Unfortunately, Okiku fell seriously ill, even though her family tried hard to take care of her, but she passed away. This left her family and the doll she loved so much devastated. The Suzuki family, to mourn their little girl, set a special room in the house that was afterwards turned into a small shrine. The doll being the closest thing to her, they put her doll on the shrine so as to have her near them. It didn't take long for the family to realize that something was not right. To the family's surprise, the doll, which was left untouched, seemed to change. From the shiny black hair that had been neatly cropped to a shoulder level was now waist long. They just thought that it was in their imagination at first, but as time passed, the hair of the doll continued to grow, all the way down past its knees. The Suzuki family came to believe that the spirit of their dear Okiku had come to reside in the doll because she did not want to part with her favorite toy. The once innocent gift had transformed into something far more unsettling, a vessel for a restless spirit. Despite their initial fear, the family couldn't bear to part with the doll, believing it was a way to keep Okiku's presence alive in their home. However, as the hair continued to grow and their unease deepened, they decided it was time to seek help. Relying on the priests of the temples, the family brought the doll to Monenji Temple to try to get at least some kind of comfort. Even the priests could not comprehend the existence of the doll, however they agreed to accept it and nurture it. The doll was taken to the temple, and as up to now, the monks maintain it there. Even stranger than this, though, is the fact that the monks have backed up the family's assertions. Yes, the hair on the doll is growing, They cut it often, but it reappears, so long and black as if it was living on the head of a live person. Among those who have looked on the mouth of the doll say that it is gradually opening, while others assert having felt an eerie feeling around the area where the doll is found. Perhaps Okiku's story has been turned into a legend, not only in Japan, but also in the rest of the world. Tens of thousands of people from different parts of Japan come to the Menenji Temple with the purpose of looking at the eerie doll, and look at the hair that keeps growing. Regardless of anyone's understanding of the existence of supernatural beings, there is something eerie about the doll that no one has been able to understand. The legend of Polybius has been a part of game folklore for many years now, a game that appeared in the early 80s and then vanished into thin air. This myth revolved around the fact that the game initially popped up in a few of the arcades in Portland, Oregon, where the players complained about the nasty effects ranging from seizures, memory loss, and night terrors, among others. Some even said that black-suited people would come and harvest data from the machines, and this has caused speculation of government experiments. But until recently, most just looked at Polybius as an actual ghost story from the scene, something from the internet. Until there was a discovery which changed everything. In a garage located far away from the downtown of Portland, surrounded by other beaten up and long abandoned arcade games, there was one single cabinet left. It was in a very bad shape, but it had its indicator showing Polybius as the name of the game, and this discovery triggered a lot of controversy and speculations in the gaming universe. Professionals scrutinized the cabinet and observed a new type of circuit board, which was never seen in any of the typical arcade games of that time. The screen came alive, and in front of them was a mesmerizing game that was throbbing and had a very disturbing rhythm. That is why, as the news of the find spread, so did the stories from those who had played it. Some of the respondents said they suffered from severe migraines and vomiting after experimenting with the games for around 10 minutes. More complaints of one person were involved, and according to him, he once woke up after several hours with no recollection of the event. These disturbing reports were very reminiscent of the story of the game, thus making people question the actual intent of the game. One might consider whether it was in fact just a simple myth that people tell in big cities all around the world, or if there was more to this story. As more and more people continued to investigate the game, some began to speculate that Polybius was a result of a secret government experiment. Some of the symbols and shapes which were included in the game appeared to be a form of attempt to manipulate the human mind and behavior. What if instead of being a simple game, Polybius was used as a mind weapon or a means of psychological warfare? The lack of any official records about the game's existence only deepened the mystery, leaving more questions than answers. Fairfax County, Virginia, a peaceful suburban island, hides one of the most bizarre legends that has been haunting the people of the area for a decade: the legend of the Bunny Man. Some background for this mystery has it that in 1904, a bus was transporting prisoners from one asylum to another when the bus overturned. Most of these prisoners were rearrested, while 2 of them jumped into the thick and dense forest. The authorities looked for weeks, and all it saw were remains of rabbits, which were half-eaten with their bodies savagely torn apart. After weeks of searching for the 2 escapees, they came across one of them hanged from a tree at the side of what is now called Colchester Overpass, or the Bunnyman Bridge. The second escapee was never found, and this is where the legend of Bunnyman originated. The legend of the Bunnyman was first recorded in October of 1970, near Colchester Overpass. A young couple was sitting in their car enjoying their time together late at night, when suddenly a rabbit skin coat and a black hat appeared outside of their car, holding a hatchet in his hand. He started screaming to them that they were on his property, then picked up a hatchet and threw it through one of the car windows, then ran off into the darkness. The couple, as you could imagine, was clearly disturbed, registered the case in the police and explained about a man who looked very odd, quite possibly mentally ill, dressed in white rags that resembled a rabbit costume. A few days later, another event took place. A security guard saw a man in a bunny costume dressed in one of the houses with an axe in his hands, with which he actively chopped a porch railing. When the guard approached the man, the bunny man chased him away, shouting to him to get out, after which the man disappeared into the night. Much as the police tried to find him or even identify him, the man was never seen again. But, as has been told, the sightings persisted. As the years went on, more and more people reported seeing the sighting of the bunny man. Some of them used the description of a man in a full rabbit suit, while others said that he was a man with rabbit ears and a white mask. What remained unchanged, however, was his violence and penchant for using a hatchet or an axe. They said that at times he came at very early hours of the morning, sometimes deep in the night, and anyone who dared to venture close to his area was in big trouble. The legend spread with time, and even people began to narrate stories of how the bunny man has killed rabbits and hanged their dead bodies along trees or bridges in places people are forbidden to cross. However, the cruelest part of the bunny man story is linked with Bunny Man Bridge. People suggest that if you come to the bridge after midnight on Halloween, you could see this stranger there who waits for someone. There is a silence that surrounds the bridge that is too quiet, overpowered only by the sound of the leaves or an owl hooting in the distance. When you are close to such places, you may find broken bits of animal bones lying around, with a stench that comes from somewhere. A dead rat might still be discerned. The locals who dare to get to the bridge have stated that sometimes at night the sounds of Bunnyman sharpening the hatchet on concrete can be heard, and at other times he is seen chopping trees in the distance. To some it may sound like a fairy tale, but the several cases of sightings and accounts have put the legend into reality. Despite the ambiguity surrounding the identity of the Bunnyman, be it a mad murderer or a legend never proven real, the latter has successfully entered the mythology of several generations, turning into a people's legend and invading their nightmares. It's creepy to imagine someone sneaking into your home without you realizing it. But what if the intruder didn't break through a window, crawl into the basement, or kick in a door? Instead, they breached the last place you'd ever expect, your bathroom. This unsettling idea, once considered an urban legend, became horrifyingly real in Chicago during the 1980s. The story centers on the Cabrini Green housing project, where residents began reporting a series of strange break-ins and violent attacks. These incidents were all linked by a terrifying commonality. The intruders were gaining entry through the victims' medicine cabinets. As it turned out, the design of the building made this nightmarish scenario possible. Behind each medicine cabinet was a thin, easily removable panel that connected apartments through a common shaft meant for plumbing. This design flaw meant that someone could easily access another apartment by simply removing the panel and stepping through the medicine cabinet. The most infamous case tied to this legend is the gruesome murder of Ruthie Mae McCoy in 1987. Ruthie, a resident of Cabrini Green, made a frantic call to 911, telling the operator that someone was trying to break into her apartment through the medicine cabinet. Her cries for help were met with confusion, but 2 911 calls from neighbors soon followed, reporting gunshots and screams coming from her unit. When police finally arrived, they discovered Ruthie Mae McCoy dead, shot multiple times in her own home. The investigation revealed that her killer had indeed entered her apartment by removing the medicine cabinet from the wall, just as Ruthie had desperately reported. This horrifying event solidified the urban legend in the public's mind, turning what was once a tale of urban paranoia into a documented, real-life danger. The notion that an intruder could so easily invade someone's most private space is terrifying, and this thought alone has made the story of Ruthie Mae McCoy a chilling reminder of how legends can sometimes be all too real. In the aftermath of Ruthie's murder, the structural defects in Cabrini Green and other similar housing complexes came under scrutiny, leading to demands for better safety and security measures. However, the terrifying reality remains. Sometimes the most unexpected horrors are the ones that are all too real. There are urban legends which circulate in the society that the governmental agencies harvest the corpses of dead children for the black operations since the 70s. Now, this seems too grotesque to be true, more like something which belongs in a horror film. However, the complex narrative of this mysterious urban myth is rooted still deeper and more horrifying than most fabricated stories may ever be. The Cold War was raging during the 1950s and 1960s, so people inside of the Iron Curtain, as well as those outside of it, were desperately seeking to know more about the impacts of radiation exposure. The US government, together with other governments, under a veil of secrecy, forged several covert programs. One of them was called Project Sunshine, and it was concentrated specifically on the exposure of effects of radiation on human tissue. However, there was a catch. Scientists required young and healthy tissue for testing, and to obtain that they resorted to unthinkable acts. It appeared that without the knowledge and consent of the grieving families, the dead infants and children were having their bones and organs harvested. Some parents did not realize that their deceased child was being harvested for some sort of an experiment until they buried them and saw some parts of their bodies were removed. These body parts were used in experiments to measure the levels of strontium-90, a radioactive isotope that could be incorporated into bones, to give more information concerning the danger of nuclear fallout. This is when people began to open their eyes to the details of Project Sunrise, and their anger could boil over at any moment. The fact that not only were such experiments conducted covertly by the government, but also that the remains of children who were brutally murdered were violated, was something many could not fathom. The scandal just exposed an ugly episode in the society where ethical standards were ignored in the pursuit of knowledge. This specific project is no longer running. However, the impact created is still there. It is shocking to this day to remember how far the authorities were able not only to get away with the murders, but also to tell everybody that it was perfectly normal at the time when radical changes were a real possibility. As the line between legend and reality blurs, we're reminded that some stories are more than just tales. They're warnings. Whether you believe in them or not, these chilling myths serve as a reminder that the world is full of mysteries we may never fully understand. So, the next time you hear a creepy story, ask yourself, what if it's true? Stay curious, stay cautious, and remember, sometimes the scariest things are the ones that hide in plain sight.